Hey, now, folks. Happy Friday afternoon if you're on the East Coast. John Duffin here, Duffin Media, Duffin Coaching. Welcome back to our big Friday finish. Now, we are in day 4, and I'm so damn grateful. Anyone who's watching me live, Facebook or LinkedIn or YouTube, couldn't be happier. What are we doing? Again, I'm John Duffin, Duffin Media, Duffin Coaching, and what we get to do is I'm offering today 3 of my top tips. When you use those top tips, I'm telling you, here are proven ways that you will be able to optimize your communications by leveraging your voice. Get what you want, find what you need, improve your results. All of these are viable when you work to make certain that you don't forget to utilize your voice in basic communications. So it's Friday. I am delighted to be here and happy to work with anybody and everybody. Look, if you're watching it on replay, this is great. Enjoy every second of it. But for today, what we've got 3 things in the pipeline. And the reminder too, none of these are terribly complicated. I really try to make them practical and tweaks so that when you're using them, you don't have to overthink this. So to me, this is all about eliminating distractions, not just your own, but for the people that are listening to you. So whether it is clients during a presentation or a proposal or a relationship building meeting, or whether if you're a realtor, if this is a listing meeting, if you are trying to secure someone's home, you better sound good. You better sound confident. You better sound true. So that's what we look to do. Content matters a ton, obviously. What I'm saying, all of this is to leverage the content so that when you're doing this, the fact of the matter is you're able to optimize the content you're using. So I hate to make people wait. So here's your first tip of the day. Today's theme is called Meet Me in the Middle. All right. And secondary theme of too high, too low, or just right. This is one of my favorite overall lessons. And I'll tell you, the effectiveness of it to me is what makes it so palatable and user-friendly. Okay. But if you remember nothing more today, nothing more than middle. Find the middle, meet me in the middle, Malcolm in the middle. I don't care what it is, but it's the middle that's going to make this true and right. So you want a tip. Here's one. Here's the big one. When I talk about meeting you in the middle, here's what I'm referring to. Your voice, your sweet spot, so to speak, your comfort zone. So I'm going to demonstrate with my voice where I'm talking about and the ease of getting you to your middle voice. You don't have to sound like me. You don't have to sound like anybody else. Here you go. It's just this simple. Here's an exercise. You're near your computer. Try it. Go up a little bit higher when you're speaking. Try to get up to a certain point. It can sound like you, but go to your upper register if you will. Try to stay here for just a second or two. Okay? 2. Let's take it down. We're taking the down elevator. Down, 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 down. I would like you to stay in this range for a second or 2. It would be great if you could be there. Now let's come up one more time, shall we? Push the up button. As we're going up, 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 here we are. And maybe we're at the top floor. I'm grateful I live in a high rise in Philadelphia. When I get to the top floor, I feel great. You're in rarefied air. One more time, down, 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 down. Basement level, here we are. How can I assist you? Let me help you with that. And then you get to your middle. And then you get to this spot, and I literally will use my hands at this point. It's about at your chest level. You can feel where the middle is. Everybody has a middle voice Everybody's voice, by the way, gets to play in this game. It's not my middle voice. It's not their middle voice. It's nothing to do with gender or anything like that or mood. It's where you are in the middle. Okay. I want you to, number one tip, be aware of where that is, because we're going to keep coming back to it. All right. The middle voice happens to be, folks, just right in communications, just right in relationship building, just right in regards to presenting, speaking, making people feel more comfortable, more confident, and heck, making you much more at ease. Okay. One of the things, and again, as I said, take your hand literally, put it towards your chest. Okay. If I sit back a little bit and elevate here, right? You should be about right there. That's the sweet spot. The sweet spot, the most comfortable, easy to get to, and folks, easy to return to. So number one tip today, know where that is and know that you can always get back to it. And here's the rub. I'm sharing point blank that this authenticity, arc to authenticity, these KILLA conversations, as we're calling them, optimizing communications, all of them have to do with literally the sense of comfort, confidence, your ability to help people make decisions because they want to go on the ride with you. All right. So, number one, always know where your middle voice is. Know that's your best voice, and everyone's middle voice is great. Everybody's is perfect. Okay. And then I'm going to say to you, like, why does it matter? I'm going to give you a reminder. Okay. So, I've asked this question a lot when I present. I've asked it during the course of this training, but I'm going to ask the question again, which is, if you've ever had a conversation, a presentation, an encounter in business where you received surprisingly negative feedback. You weren't counting on it. You didn't understand it. You couldn't figure out why. I had it happen often. It happens a whole lot less frequently now for me. But it has happened. It is an alarming feeling. And I'm going to tell you point blank, the stuff that we're talking about is going to help you get rid of all of that. All of this is your own authenticity. It's what people want to hear. Everyone's voice is great. But I'm going to tell you, getting to the middle, staying in the middle with a few exceptions. Because again, you do not have to be locked into a monotone. You want your comfortable voice. Okay. So just keep that in mind. The rationale is this. And why does any of this even matter? Look, when you are up here or down here or over there, or you're creating distractions, maybe not for you. Maybe you're in the moment. Maybe you're feeling I'm on a roll. But the distractions are from the listener. If it's a Zoom meeting, if it's an in-person, if it's a one-on-one, if it's an important personal conversation, people get distracted. The problem with distractions, and this is coming from Brendan Burchard, widely well-known performance coach, one of the best in the business. And I'm guessing you probably know him. But the problem with distractions, they're at the heart of everything. Look, if you've been unhappy, and I'm literally reading off the page at this point too, if you've been unhappy or lonely or disconnected or stagnant, chances are you haven't mastered your communication skills. Here's the deal. You don't even know why often things are going on. The distractions might occur, a problem might arise. You might not get that return phone call. You may not get the result that you were thinking you would get, and you'd have no clue why. And often it's your voice. I know I've said this a million times, but the fact of the matter is, one of the things that I want to keep coming back to is this. The content, what you're saying, is terribly important. Don't dismiss what I'm talking about for removing the importance of the content or removing the hard work that's involved in building relationships, pregame prep, so to speak, knowing the opportunity, knowing the landscape. All of that matters. You just don't want to fumble the ball at the 5-yard line. Really, that's all this is about, right? You don't want to fumble the ball. So you've worked hard. You've started a relationship. Say you're a media salesperson. I had this great good fortune a couple of nights ago to meet a bunch of new people and a bunch of great former pros. They're current pros. former colleagues who were so influential to me in terms of the way that my career happened to go. I was in broadcast ad sales and executive management for about 25 years, a little more. And the relationships, I just realized when I was there the other night, it's the relationships that were so key, and to me, that was the part that was so important. However, it's the techniques, it's the experiences, it's the interactions, and you get this chance. I had some great people help me along the way in terms of my career. Now, the reference points for this middle voice, I'm going to show you something, and don't be like, oh my God, maybe it's weird. To me, this is one of the coolest things that I happen to create, and it is tip number 2. I call this my influencer's wall of fame. Now, today, I'm not going to go through everybody here. You may recognize a lot of these faces. What this is about, and you'll hear me come back to my influencer's wall of fame, which is the tip. You have people that have influenced you. Maybe you've met them. Recently, I'm pointing at Lewis Howes. I was at a conference from Lewis literally 2 weeks ago. Not even. Dave Scatchard, my high performance coach, happens to be based in Arizona. Dave, if you are watching, hi there. Thank you. See you very soon. And there's a bunch of other people. Some may be just known to me. Some may be just known as Philadelphia icons. And some may be world renowned. But there are 2 people I'm going to identify today. This guy, third from the left top, Mark Cashman. He is a renowned voiceover coach, producer, artist, recording star with voice. It was Mark that was always encouraging me to get to my middle voice. Mark Cashman personally would talk about my middle voice as it related to voiceover and voice narration. In business, though, you have the same sense of usage as it relates to your voice. You want people to feel engaged, included, and that level of no strain, I'm doing it right now, right? That level of no strain and confidence, people tend to listen to. You become more believable, right? You become more impressive. I hear people, if they sound like they're straining, I'm not as impressed. If they sound like they're speaking to me as if they are telling me what to do, I'm not impressed. It's that middle voice that's so important, number 1, right? I referenced Kelly McGee, who's the second person who has helped me so much in regards to the way that I utilize my voice. And third, Roger Love, renowned voice coach, has worked with Reese Witherspoon, Bradley Cooper, and an endless array of people, and has worked with me as well, too, with one of his courses. Why does any of that matter? It just seems like a lot of throwing names around. They all have referenced that middle voice, okay? So that's the tip, bonus tip, is think about who has helped you, all right? When you're thinking about who has helped you, often you can get gratitude and feel good about it. You feel like sometimes you're all by yourself. Think about it. Who's helped you along the way? I threw them on a PowerPoint slide. It makes me feel good every once in a while to look at it. And you can do that too. Everybody has had help, whether it's family, friends, colleagues, mentors, business pros, whatever the case may be. I go to them. It makes me feel more confident, or I don't doubt myself as much, right? But I'll share this with you. This middle that I would love for you to be able to continue to utilize. It's so much easier to agree. Don't you think? Wouldn't you think that when someone is speaking to you in a middle voice, now, Rush, not too high, not questioning, not patronizing. Agreements are so much easier to come by, with a calming voice. It's an easier path, and this is the most important part. In business and in personal relationships, there's one thing that is terribly important. It becomes more and more important, which is the sense of mutual understanding. The mutual understanding part is the part that's so important. When you know where someone is coming from because you've bothered to listen to them, you haven't pushed back. To give you a couple of examples with our other two tips today in regards to exceptions and how it's problematic when things are not going right and the distractions are taking place. But I will share this. The path to understanding leads to more sales-related agreements. All agreements, but sales-related agreements, to me, if I know where you're coming from and I can feel from your voice that sense of confidence, I'm going to trust more of the information. I'm going to trust that you know that you're doing the right thing and you're looking to help me, right? Doesn't that make sense for you? And I hope so, right? So now, let me get to a couple more tips today, right? And we're going to center on that ease. Go back to tip number 1. Find your middle voice, all right? I'm going back to the too high, too low, just right. I want to show you a book. I will type this in the comments after the presentation concludes. But first and foremost, let me show you something, right? I'm a big believer in backing up my experience with science. And this book, Freeing the Natural Voice by Kristen Linklater, ties the physicality everywhere through your body and your voice as it relates to relationships, interpretation, interpersonal relations, all of it from a business and a personal aspect. Every part of communication is centered on your voice. Why does it matter? There's a business coach. His name is Dave Walsh. Dave Walsh, who also is one of my people that are on that influencer page, Dave Walsh has shared as a reminder, your voice is the last pass in regards to information. The sound, the tone, all of it. This is the last thing in regards to conveying information. So you could know everything in the world. But if your voice is putting someone off, and especially if you can control it easily, why wouldn't you do that? Give yourself the best shot, right? So tip number 2, there are times when you can use a higher pitched voice. There are times when it's advantageous to have a higher pitched voice like I'm using right now. This is in my range, so I'm not straining a lot, but there are times when this makes sense. So I'm not saying that you have to stay in the monotone of a middle voice. There are times to use this, and you don't have to overthink this. But I mean, there are times. Can anybody think of an exception? A time when this makes sense, when you like hearing this upper register. And you might say never. And I'll live with that. But it's the higher end that sometimes can work. I'll give you a couple of examples, right? When you're excited about something, naturally excited. Oh my God, I saw Taylor Swift this summer. I swear it was the best concert I've ever seen. Well, that doesn't seem overly weird. Maybe that I'm screeching about Taylor Swift, but I got a lengthy list of other Swifties. So, but what I will say is, yes, excitement could be one of them. Keep that in mind. That's sure. Don't take your personality out of the equation because you're so worried about the sound of your voice. But you want to be selective, because when you're up here, often what can happen is, what do you think? Well, if somebody is up here and they're starting to follow up with things in regards to the sale, and do you think this is a good book? I think it's a good book. Do you hear the lilt that's going on in the voice when you're up high? What could be part of the problem? I'll help you. Doubt, uncertainty in yourself, in what you're conveying, in what you actually believe about the matter at hand. If I'm in a place where I'm asking, hey, do you believe me? I have worked with people. Now, I do not have an overly high-pitched voice, just my natural voice. But I've gotten up there. I was in a work scenario. Here's the situation. I had returned to my former television station about 20 years ago. And it was with a lot of mixed feelings that I went back. I was thrilled that I actually did it. But at the time, I was nervous. There were personal circumstances that had me concerned about making the return back again to a station I had already been to. And I can remember I was not at my best back then, mentally or professionally. I was, we'll just say, good enough, but I don't know that I was exceptional with the team that I was managing. And I remember somebody saying to me, literally saying to me at one point, you know, John, you sound so angry. And here was my response. I'm not angry. Really? Well, regardless of whether I was or wasn't, or whatever deep personal issues I was trying to work through at the time, they don't know the listener. They don't care. Your sales team, your sales team, your clients, your colleagues, they don't know. They don't care. The problem is they are finishing the thought for you. And they're often wrong. Oh, he must be tired, unsure, not really clear with that. I've heard people, I don't know that I've done it, but I've heard people deliver presentations where they've said at the end of the presentation, so what do you think? Does this seem okay? How is this going? Well, when you hear that, do you feel confidence in the person that's delivering the material? There's a term when you're at the upper edge of the too high, there's a term that's called upspeak. And upspeak allows you to end a lot of your thoughts in a higher range in a question. So your voice lilts upward. Does this make sense to you? Is freeing the natural voice something that works? And everything becomes this high-pitched question. Folks, be careful. I'm sharing just from my own knowledge. People tend to create doubt where none exists, but you bring doubt and uncertainty and insecurity into the equation when you are speaking in that upper register. So when you get up there and it's not appropriate, you're not discussing Taylor Swift or what a great night that was. Here's the tip. You can always get back to the middle. Try not to be there, but don't beat yourself up if you catch yourself in a presentation. Don't overly obsess about the sound of your voice. Stay in the moment. Stay with the individuals. Stay with the group. But if you find you're up here and all of a sudden you're like, simple, take it down a notch. The tip, drop an octave. Literally drop an octave. Get yourself back. It's okay. Everybody does it. Everybody does it. But you know what you don't have to do? Stay there. Don't stay there. You will, as you practice, become aware without taking you out of the moment. That's what the techniques are for, right? That the whole deal is, I don't want you obsessing on how pretty or good or cool you sound. Because then you're not focusing on the audience, your client, your colleagues, the relationship. You're focusing on yourself, which is the last thing you want to do. But you don't want to sabotage you either. So you catch yourself up there, drop an octave. Take a breath, drop an octave, bring it back. Everybody comes back to the equation, right? And then you move on. You don't have to apologize. You don't have to do anything. Just move on, okay? Tip number 3 today, we're going to go with the too low and why often it doesn't work. But there are exceptions, okay? If I'm dropping my voice another octave, so I guess that's drop 2 octaves. But if I'm dropping my voice a little bit lower, as opposed to being in this conversational tone, but I want to drop a little bit lower. I want to share something now of relevance, and I want to share a point that has enabled me to record this level of success, blah, 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 blah. Okay. There are benefits to occasionally dropping your voice. Naturally. If it's not there for you, if you have a naturally higher pitched voice, you don't have to force it. Lower than your natural voice. That's all it is. What would you think people would respond if all of a sudden you go from conversational to, I'd like to share this with you now. I'll help you. It draws people in. For some weird reason, the science and all the timbre of your voice, it sounds as if you've got something to say that matters. It sounds like you've got something to say that matters to them. You know what else it does? I'm stealing this from Bold Real Estate Training. Bo Smith was the one that actually talked about this sense of when you do this, lower your voice. You're helping somebody to understand that I'm about to take charge now. Somebody has to do so. In a real estate situation, in a listing presentation, it could sound like this. Ready? So, hey folks, and the situation is great. I've done all the comps in the neighborhood. We have assessed the property, recent sales. And the reason I want you to list the house with me is because I don't know if you caught that, but just dropping a little bit lower lends some credibility and authority. And sometimes you need to take the lead, right? You just want to be somewhat careful, because I'll end with this. When you're speaking too low, I have a lower pitched voice. I have to be careful myself. When I'm speaking too low, I've been told I can sound announcery, which is code for it sounds like he's telling me what to do. You should list the house with me. You should buy the media campaign that we've created for you at Univision and or Tribune and or Nexstar. And people start to recoil when you're there because it sounds like you're telling them what to do. We talked about this before. Who likes to be taught what to do? Nobody. Exactly right. Nobody wants to be told what to do. So be aware, if you're down here and speaking to others, I will need you to, it can really be off-putting. So what do? Come up a floor. Hit the up button. Come up a floor. Get back to the level. Again, no problem if you're there, but come out of it. Unless it is I'd like to take the lead here. No one's taking the lead at this point. I'd like to take the lead. I'd like to lead the way. Great. But don't overuse it. Don't come off like some know-it-all, because that's how it can sound. The just right part that I keep alluding to, the just right, is the confidence, clarity, and the timbre of that middle voice. It tends to be the friendliest. It's the most engaging. So the tips for today, the 3 tips. Number 1, and the bonus tip. Number 1, find your middle. Know where your middle voice is. It's easy. You can literally assign it. It's about at the upper part of your chest. At the upper part of your chest, everybody has a middle voice, and everyone's middle voice is great. Okay? You just want to be aware of it. Use it most of the time. If you're going to be coming up here, tip number 2, it should be for some level of excitement, and the excitement should be felt by the other people, not manipulating excitement from your audience, because then you can enter into a range of doubt, insecurity, questions, unnecessary questions. Number 3, when you come all the way down and you're deciding that we're going to do this and we're going to do that, even when you don't say we're going to do this or do that, it sounds like you are. So you either better mean it, or if you don't mean it like that, take the elevator up. Come back to your middle, right? You're always going to be in a good place when you were in the middle. That's one of the cool things about this. You can always come back. You can always be in a place that gets you more confidence. And again, remember, it's always easy to agree at the middle. So, folks, I am thrilled that you made the time for me, and we are going to continue this next week. I am leaving this up here now, that QR code. It's how you get to me. Here's the deal. Live, if you're watching, great. Snap the QR code, or I'll make it even easier. I am right at this moment typing in my email address, jd@duffinmedia.com. When you send me an email, what will happen? We can book, if you're new, first time, a 30-minute discovery call. We can focus on you specifically. You got an important meeting coming up. You've got some specific questions that relate only to you. Great. Let's work on them together, okay? And then the QR code gets you to the same place as well as to my website with all that other stuff. So, happy Friday, folks. We did it in 30 minutes, and I'm loving it. Trying to get a little closer to the Toastmasters thing of being prompt and on time. John Duffin here with Duffin Media. Look, folks, when you're optimizing your communications, you'll wind up optimizing your life. And who wouldn't want that, right? I'm delighted that you made the time for me today and this week. And the replay will be up shortly if you want to take a second look. I'm thrilled. We are coming back on Monday with more. I cannot wait. More tips. We're keeping the streak going. 3 situations, 3 tips, 3 solutions, all for you. John Duffin, Duffin Media, and Duffin Coaching. Have a fantastic day and a great weekend, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.